And there was a real buzz about Villa Park. Now, it's a new manager, bounds, whatever you want to call it. But they've got a guy who is actually a very good coach and knows how to coach. And I think that I think it's going to be a really, not because of today, but I do think it's a really exciting appointment for Aston Villa going forward.
They kept absolutely flying out the traps, didn't they? That's exactly what you want from a response for a new manager.
I think they did their homework. I think Unai Emery obviously watched our show last week, and we pointed out, Frank and I, that Martinez was a weakness, and you did say, well, why don't teams pick on the weakness? Well, today, Aston Villa did. So Unai Emery must be watching, Dan. Martinez involved in 2 of the 3 goals, and maybe could have got sent off, losing his rag.
Wow, Steve.
So other than that...
Not that you're watching this game with any sort of agenda.
I tell you what...
Other than that... Well,
come on, Stevie. Man United were not
bad. He sat here...
No.
I'm not interested in the game. Hold on.
No.
He sat here last week and tried to tell Frank and I that Martinez was a great defender.
He's been playing well.
He's been fantastic, blah, blah, blah. And Frank and I tried to tell him he's got some problems and he wouldn't have it. He wouldn't have it.
But he's been one of the best players.
He wouldn't have it.
Would you listen to what he's saying?
He's been one of what he's saying.
What are you saying?
I'm telling. Listen, Frank and I will take an apology. We're not...
Listen.
We're not.
Listen. We can't look at Man United through the guise of...
No, in this game we can.
We can't look at them through the guise of 2 guys who've had a hot take on a certain player.
Yes, we can. On this game, yes, we can.
I mean, Martinez is too small, is not going to wash. I'm sorry. You're telling me a guy who plays for Argentina, you're telling me they don't have tall players in Holland?
It's not going to wash, yeah, right.
I mean, it's really not.
Who else is buying him?
Well,
there's nobody else. He's still at Ajax. If Ten Hag hadn't gone to Man United, he's still at Ajax right now.
Well, Ten Hag did go to Man United, and he likes him.
You're not buying it. You're not going to try and convince me the guy's a centre back.
He's been one of the best players, and today was not a good day all round. I don't understand.
Aye, right.
Where did it go wrong in particular today?
Well, he's told you.
Well, yes,
I mean, it's one guy. Yeah, I mean, it's not an agenda driven at all. You know what I mean? Well, clearly, Martinez went back in the dressing room, was stripped, flogged, and dragged through the streets all the way back to Manchester off the back of the bus because he was so bad. I'm not buying that. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that. He's been when Varane was fit. Him and Varane were absolutely rock solid there. The guy's an international player.
No, don't give me that. Rock solid. Just because they won some games, you don't see the mistakes.
The guy's been playing well.
Because they win some games, you don't see the mistakes.
Everybody makes mistakes. Show me a player on the pitch that never makes a mistake.
Consistently.
Show me a guy on the pitch. He's been one of the best players. Listen.
It's called getting away with it.
It's no good.
Every single defender that's ever played the game hasn't
it's no
always
good
played
coming
well.
in with an agenda.
The key is getting away with it.
Once you make a hot take on a player, you've got to backtrack. Harry Maguire's not been playing well.
Harry Maguire's not been playing.
Erik Ten Hag did he buy Lisandro Martinez because he had him at Ajax and he thought he was a bad player who couldn't jump and handle tall players? No, he didn't.
This is bigger than Martinez, obviously, Frank, in the sense that this was Aston Villa coming out and really testing this Manchester United side, who have looked good over recent weeks and whose failings were demonstrated today.
I mean, first I have sympathy for Steven Gerrard. When I see and if I was in his socks, let's say, and watching the game and say, why my players didn't play like that when I was in charge? Is it because of me or because of their mentality? I mean, all the players, they were so focused on what they had to do today because they're so scared of the new coach because they don't know if they're going to play, that they show their talent. I mean, that was an absolutely fantastic Aston Villa team, and they deserved the win. Talking about Manchester United, yes, there was almost nothing. I mean, they were still on the coach the first 10 minutes, and they started to play. And let's say that for half an hour they did well, they did quite well. And I'm not going to talk about Martinez because that's another debate. But because they were all bad. But the second half didn't even exist. Didn't even react. As you said, it's the old Manchester United or the Manchester United we saw at the beginning of the season, where you had almost nothing, you had no stamina, you had no collective efforts. It was almost nothing. I was so disappointed with what I watched because it was a team who didn't fight for their colours, and that's of course not enough, especially against a very good Aston Villa team.
I'll tell you what, you've got to give Unai Emery some credit because the biggest thing for me in the game was United couldn't handle Bailey coming through the middle.
Right.
Under Gerrard, he's been on the wing and he stood there and stayed there, and we've seen nothing of him. And the one thing I bet United never saw coming was him coming through the middle, because they couldn't handle him today whatsoever.
How is Gerrard feeling? That's a good question.
Well, it happens.
I would think he's probably brushed it off.
Right.
Yes.
You're not watching it bitterly, going, where was this?
Well, let's be honest. Unai Emery's a better coach.
Yeah, well, certainly.
And he's a more experienced coach. I mean,
But Craig,
well,
Craig, I'm sorry, but you cannot say that it's because you cannot give credit to Emery. Just arrived like 2-3 days ago that he changed dramatically the way Aston Villa played. I mean, of course, he's a very good coach. I saw him many times. But do you really think that he changed? We saw an awful Aston Villa in many games, and now we see a team who clearly completely changed. Is that because of Emery? Really?
No, but I mean, when a new manager comes in, Frank, sometimes you get a bit of a bounce. And Stevie mentioned the Bailey scenario. Also, the other thing that was evident was young Jacob Ramsey, who's a terrific young player, but went off the boil.
Yeah.
When he's making runs through the middle, then that causes a lot of problems for defenders, for midfielders. And look, I say Unai Emery's a better coach. Steven Gerrard may become a great coach one day. I think there's a huge doubt about that. But Unai Emery, he knows his onions.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. He's managed in several countries. He's had excellent success. And I think ultimately, I don't know where it will take Villa. I mean, depends what money they spend, but it'll be a good appointment. The other side
can we talk about Ronaldo's captaincy?
I don't get it. I don't get the fact that he's captain. It's almost like some media-driven thing from the manager to show everything's all right. The other side of the coin, and I'm not blaming Ronaldo for them losing, not at all, but they have not performed well domestically when he's played. That's not really up for debate. When they've had pacey players, Rashford through the middle, and Alanga's played, and I know there was no Jadon Sancho again, but when they've had pacey players through the middle, they've played better. And I honestly, I just don't see the scenario outside the Europa League or the Carabao Cup or whatever it is that I'm putting them in the team.
Is it me, or did it seem again that every time they got near the box, which wasn't that often, it was almost like they were trying to find him again all the time? I got that feeling that it was kind of schoolboy. They were trying to find him instead of
trying to appease him.
And there was no Fernandes either today, which, you know. I just don't see the scenario. I don't know about you with him in the side, because the whole focus becomes on him playing.
Yeah.
And as Stevie mentioned, the focus then comes. Oh, we need to find him, or he's going to be a nightmare in the dressing room because he's going to be moaning and groaning.
Right.
Because he wants every team he plays to be talked about. He's been talked about all his career. Every day, every weekend, it's all been about him. It's been about him recently, but in a negative sense. And he wants it to be so right on the field from a professional perspective that, as Stevie said, people are trying to, instead of doing the right thing. I just think it takes away from everything else United are trying to do, and they haven't played well with him in the side.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.